welcome back to another video. I thought today, because it's raining and I can't go out for a ride video, we would take a look at the vast array of bikes in my collection. I finally have pretty much all the bikes that I own in this room, maybe bar one of my wind spaces that's currently being built at the shop. But pretty much everything else is here, all 10 bikes I think I own. So we're going to go through them all individually, we're going to weigh them and talk about them. Right, so in the studio we have 6 racks on this side and then 2 on this side. These are my special bikes, these are my custom painted ones. They kind of live over here and look nice and look pretty and don't often get used really. These are my bikes that we kind of grab most of the time. So we're going to start with the pretty ones and then we'll work our way back onto this wall. Alright, starting with probably the most famous bike to ever grace this channel. This is my 2018 Scott Foil, high mod, high spec with the Dura-Ace Di2 11 speed, the first 11 speed Dura-Ace, obviously with the old shifters, not the new ones. Rim brake, obviously, I have a set of wind space, 38mm carbon hyper wheels on here, obviously rim brake as well, GP 5000s. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We obviously got this bike custom painted back in 2020 I think, so it's been almost 3 years since it's been painted, and yeah, we've made a lot of videos on it. I was going to sell it and then I pulled it off because I just can't get rid of it, and I've got some stuff coming up where I actually want to display it at the shop, so I'm going to keep it, and yeah, I just really can't get rid of it. But that is pretty much bike 1. I have not ridden this bike. I don't think it's had pedals on it or been ridden for at least 2 years. It's just such a beautiful bike and full custom bar, and the paint job on this is just absolutely stunning. Right, so we're going to give this bike a quick weigh. Bear in mind it's got no pedals and no bottle cage on it, but these things are so light. So this is easily the lightest bike in my collection, 6.79 kgs. Obviously, like I said, a few hundred more grams for pedals and bottle cages and stuff, but easily under 7 kgs. This bike is a 56 as well, so pretty big bike. Like, it's a large and it's well under 7 kgs. Obviously it's got like a $700 custom physique 3D printed saddle, but yeah, super light, such a sick bike. So the next bike is my giant Trinity time trial bike. This is a 2014 or 2015 frame set. Obviously I've got fully custom carbon bars, physique and Taru saddle. We're running a 1x setup with Ultegra Di2. We've got a 54 tooth on there at the moment, a 20-year-old zip disc, and probably almost a 15-year-old Dura-Ace C75 front, both tubs. We've rebuilt this bike pretty much all the way from the ground up. Obviously custom painted as well to look like a World War II fighter jet. Yeah, pretty sick bike. I've had this bike for maybe 4 years now, and I've done a lot of time trials on it, and yeah, she's a very quick machine. This thing is definitely nowhere near as light as that foil, but I'm interested to see what it will weigh. Taking the bottle off because that's just not fair. Right, how are we looking? 8.69 kgs for the giant Trinity. That's not too bad for a pretty old TT bike. There's a lot of old tech on here, pretty old wheels, old frame set and everything. Right, so this is my 80s retro bike. This is obviously traded in. I used it in the hill climb video where I versed this versus the SLC wind space. We don't know a hell of a lot about the origin of the frame, but it's running a 7-speed straight block on the back with a 4253 setup on the front, so it's absolutely ginormously geared. Pretty sure it's from the 80s is what we worked out. Obviously it's got the down tube shifters and everything. It has got quite a nice blue paint job. Other than that, this thing weighs an absolute ton. I rode this up Corral. It was an absolute mission. It's got a real cool Campagnolo like chrome seat post. I need to give that a clean. I think it would come out real nice. I do plan in the summer for a laugh, just like going on Sunday bunchies on this, just because the Sunday bunchies are real slow, and I think this will just be kind of like a fun thing to do on a coffee ride. So I actually do want to kind of rebuild it and get rid of this ugly blue tire as well and just make it ride real nice. And I still need to fix the shifting because the shifting is not ideal and the cables are quite frayed. Now I think we know before we even weigh this, it is going to weigh an absolute ton. It's even heavy just to lift in your hands. Right, what have we got? We're sitting at 10.5, 10.4. 10.5 for the retro bike. That's pretty heavy. That's like a good 3.5 kgs heavier than the Scott Foil, which is obviously the rim brake, modern technology. But yeah, such a sick bike, pretty cool to have in the collection as well. Right, so this is obviously my track bike. We're in the middle, we're heading into winter now, so it's in a bit of a state because we're not going to be riding it for a while. Obviously, I would usually have the Dura C75 on the front of this with like a track axle, but I've just got an alloy on there at the moment, and I've also need to get new bars for the upcoming track season, so that's why we are barless. But other than that, it is a Cipollini track frame, zip disc, Physique Antares 3D printed saddle. We're running the Velo bike chain rings with the gold chain, and we have a real beefy 140 zip sprint stem up front as well. I haven't done a hell of a lot of riding. I think I did three track races and then one track session, so I've ridden it 4 times pretty much. I am planning on getting it pretty dialed for the summer and doing some more track racing. I really want to get those Velo bike bunch bars for it, so I'm thinking of getting those in like a 36, and apparently Keanu reckons I need a much longer stem for the upcoming season. So once it gets a little bit closer, we're definitely going to do a lot of work on this. A little bit of an unfair one to weigh, but we're doing everything, so we might as well give this one a go. Obviously wrong front wheel and no bars on it. So as it stands at the moment, we're looking at 6.82 kgs. Obviously it would be slightly lighter with the front wheel, but then also added the weight of the bars. So yeah, basically an under 7 kg track bike, which isn't too bad. And also, what chainring around here? We've got the 54 tooth chainring on this at the moment as well. So I've got 3 other ones. Alright, and this is my sister's new bike. We just got BMC at the shop, so I was like, we're going to get her on one. I've also may or may not have one coming for myself. This is a BMC Team Machine SLR 6, so it's like one of the lower ends of the spectrum. Such a sick bike. It obviously only has 105 mechanical disc, but it's definitely a really sick looking bike other than her horrendous saddle. I know I would change it, it just looks absolutely terrible. Just pretend that isn't there, it's such a nice looking bike. But yeah, other than that, this is a 51 centimeter, so it's a pretty small bike. 105, it comes with a 50 tooth on the front, it comes with Mavic wheels, 25mm Vittoria Zafiro tyres. Pretty cool bike for the price. I think this thing's almost maybe just over 4 grand. Such a sick bike, especially because it's a BMC. The only thing I did straight away when I got it was change the bars. It had like a 42 centimeter or 44 centimeter bars on it, so that we put these on there, which are I think a 40 or a 38, because when you're running a bike this small, you should not be having anything over a 40. So now we're heading into the disc brake territory, so obviously you're not going to see any numbers that compare to that Scott foil, but so the BMC is looking like 8.61 kgs and a 51 centimeter, so not super light, but pretty good entry level road bike. Right, and now obviously we are onto the Windog. This is obviously my team race bike, Windspace T1500 with 50mm Loon Hyper Carbon wheels. I do have it in a bit of a winter spec at the moment. Obviously it's wet and rainy and cold here at the moment because we're having winter, so this is definitely not what I have for race spec. I also just fitted 32mm Continental GP5000s TRs to it, so they're tubeless as well, just for the entire winter. 32s fit in this bike absolutely fine. As you can see, it is pretty muddy at the moment. Got the rear light on and the saddlebags. So obviously it's not ready for race spec or anything, but other than that, just a medium frame, 50mm wheels. We got the 12-speed Ultegra DI2 in here. I still run the fully integrated cockpit. Some of the other boys have taken this off. But yeah, other than that, what else is special on? I got some carbon Elite bottle cages in the black and the red, which look pretty sick. But other than that, it's a pretty bog standard Windspace bike, and that's kind of been our team bike for the last year. Yeah, I'm actually not entirely sure what to expect on this one. I don't know if I've ever weighed this. But yeah, obviously I still got the saddlebag and the light on because I cannot be bothered taking it off, but yeah, you get the gist. Right, the Windspace is looking at 8.12 kgs in full winter mode, which isn't too bad, which means you can get it under, I'm pretty sure comfortably get these bikes under 8 kg. I think we sit at about 7.75 for like race day, with race day tyres and all the stuff clean and no saddlebag and all that rubbish on there as well. So this is probably a bike that most of you guys haven't seen. Trifox sent me this frame and actually another one up here that I've got hanging in about mid or late 2020. I only ever got round to building this one up, and they kind of like, it was kind of hard to find parts and everything for them, but yeah, I finally finished building this one. My sister rode it for a little bit before obviously she's moved on to the BMC. But yeah, it's a pretty sick looking bike. It is a complete rip off of the old look bikes. Even the paint is very similar. But yeah, pretty cool looking bike. We fitted it out with Ultegra mechanical. There's obviously rim brake, just some cheap Shimano RS wheels. Other than that, there's not too much to say about it. We did build this bike back in the day when Maddie was helping us build bikes on the channel, and he did say it wasn't the easiest bike to build, especially with all the cables and everything. If you were running at Di2, it wouldn't have been so much an issue, or like ETAP, especially if you're going to go with one of these cheaper bikes. ETAP is so good because it kind of just bolts on and works. But yeah, he did say it was kind of hard to get all the cables through, and it wasn't run very well. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what this thing weighs as well. I've never weighed this bike. Obviously this has got pretty heavy Shimano wheels on there, like the bog standard, like the cheap and cheerful ones. So the Trifox is sitting at 7.78 kgs. That's pretty good, to be fair. I think this is a 53 or 53.5 centimeter frame, so about a small medium. Right, so last but not least on the wall is my Trex Fuel EX mountain bike. This one obviously came out last year. It's the newest model of the Trex Fuel. Yeah, absolutely sick bike. I've done a hell of a lot of upgrading to this bike. This is not what it looks like when you buy it stock. It's like pretty much a completely rebuilt beast that we've done over the last 6 months. One thing I do love about the mountain biking world compared to the road world is there's so much like upgrading and tinkering that you can do with these bikes that you can like visually see. Whereas like when you tinker with your road bike, they still can't really see what you've done. Like I'll tell you all the different stuff that we've done to this. Obviously it is a medium large frame. The first thing we did to it was put on these Maxxis tubeless tyres. So we've got a Minion DHR on the back and a digressor on the front. It obviously comes stock 29er. Then after that I changed it to the fabric saddle on there. I put the rear shock into the more aggressive like downhill mode, so obviously you can have more of like a cross-country mode or a downhill one, so I put it into that as well. It's running an SLX crank, which is probably like the cheapest bit on the bike. We've got Dior XT up here, and then the big upgrades are kind of up here in the cockpit. I put on these Pro 35mm bars. They're quite wide, they're like all the way out to, I think it's almost like 800mm. And then I put on this absolutely tiny Pro stem as well, which looks so sick. It's really changed the whole look of the bike. And then the biggest upgrade is we've just put on these Dior XT brake levers, and these things are tenfold better than the ones that come on this bike. They're so nice. They're like literally like a bullet. So I've changed the front and the rear on that. But yeah, other than that, such a sick bike, the Trex Fuel EX. This thing is obviously going to weigh a hell of a lot more than the rest of the bikes, but kind of to be expected. It's not meant to be lightweight, and it's not actually meant to be light at all. This is the alloy one, not the carbon one. Right, we're sitting at about 15.65 at the moment for the Trex Fuel EX. So yeah, pretty heavy compared to the rest of the fleet. And then last but not least, we have my boost box. So this is kind of like my fun commuter, like non-serious bike. This thing is called the Boost Bike Apache. It is so sick. It's got a bench seat, like 8 hanger type handlebars, fully electric. It does have gears. Never used them, never ever pedaled on this thing. It's so cool. I use it to like walk my dog, get to the shop during the summer and stuff. It is very cool. It has a big LED headlight on the front. Absolutely ginormous off-road tyres. You can get it with road or off-road, but yeah, these have some Kenda tyres. I think they're like a 5 inch. They're absolutely ginormous. Obviously just the normal like one bike kind of like e-bike setup on the gearing, and then the battery sits underneath this big bench seat. And if you wanted to, you could easily get 2 people on here. It's absolutely sick. But yeah, we're not going to be chucking down the scales because I think it might actually break the scales. That's well over 25 kgs obviously because it's an e-bike. But yeah, that's kind of a run through of all the bikes I have in my studio at the moment. A pretty awesome collection of bikes, and some good ones still to come this year that I'm going to be able to properly own and review and properly test out. I'm putting my own money into it because a lot of times when I review bikes I just get given them, I only get them for a day. There's a few that I want to actually like do a comprehensive review on, so I'm going to buy with my own money, review it at the shop, and then sell them off at a later date. So stay tuned for that. But if you did enjoy this video and looking at all my bikes, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are almost at 20,000 subscribers. Cheers guys.